Hi guys, if you are hoping to do a one-day summit of Mount Fuji, I'm just here to give you a little encouragement and some tips that might help you be more successful. I know that for me, for medical reasons, doing the typical spend the night up there, wake up early for the sunrise wasn't going to work, but I also knew I really wanted to climb Mount Fuji, and I was a little hesitant to do it because it is not recommended to do it in one day. But I did it and it was awesome, and I hope that you can have that experience if that's what works best for you, whether it be physically, medically, schedule wise. Anyway, I encourage you to try if that's what will work for you. So a few tips to help you out. First off, for me, part of what made me more comfortable with doing this was that I really studied in advance. I was looking for the best books and one kept coming up over and over again. It's right here, Climbing Mount Fuji. This is the 4th edition, an official Mount Fuji guide. Anyway, 4th edition, lots of different websites said this was the book to read, and it was really helpful to me. It made me feel more comfortable to understand what I was getting into. You can see I had bookmarked a lot of pages that I went back to before the climb. Next tip, and this is for one-day climb or overnight climb, either way. Train. For the months leading up to the hike, I was making sure to hike at least once a week, if not more, looking for hikes that were similar distance, but maybe even more importantly, similar elevation gain to the Mount Fuji hike. It was tricky for me and actually not possible to train at the same elevation as Mount Fuji, which is what made me a little bit nervous because, as you probably already know, about half of the people who try to climb Mount Fuji are not successful because they end up with elevation sickness. And I wanted to have a chance to see if my body could handle the elevation or to get my body used to the elevation. That was not an option for me, but I did train until I felt confident that unless elevation sickness got to me, I would definitely be able to finish this hike. Next step, make sure to reserve your equipment that you might need for climbing. If you are in Japan living there, this might be simpler, but if you're like me and you're traveling from somewhere else, I wanted to make sure that I had trekking poles there, that I had gaiters, that I had all the stuff that I would need. I did bring my own hiking boots. You can totally rent them. I felt more comfortable hiking in my own, so I brought them across the ocean with me. But I do recommend that you make sure you have those reservations lined up in advance. When we got to our hotel the night before we climbed Mount Fuji, all of our hiking equipment was already there so that we knew when we woke up in the morning we had everything we needed, and that wasn't something that we were going to have to worry about. Tip number 3, really solidify your schedule. Make sure you understand the transportation schedules, the bus schedules. In order to climb Mount Fuji in one day, you are going to want to start as early as you possibly can. And you might not know this yet, but probably soon will. The 5th station where you start, where the trailhead is not accessible by car. You're going to have to take a bus there. And so you need to know the bus schedule from where you're at to know what time is the earliest time you can leave to get to the mountain. And I recommend, based on my experience, that you plan on getting to that bus stop a bit early because we were cutting it pretty close. We got there just in time. And what we discovered was there was a long line of people in front of us, and not all of us were going to fit on that bus, which meant we had to wait for a later bus, which put us behind schedule, which had me pretty nervous about how my climb was going to go, because you have to catch a bus back also. So you're on a limited time schedule if you're trying to do this in one day. And the other thing that I'm sure you are already aware of is that to avoid altitude sickness, it is in your benefit to take things really slow. That's part of why it's not recommended to do this in one day, because if you spend the night in one of the mountain huts, you're going to have that several extra hours of staying there to let your body adjust to the altitude. You don't have those extra hours if you're climbing in one day, so you want to be hiking much slower than you're probably used to. Our goal, in order to hopefully be successful, which we were, was to never let ourselves get winded. So you're going up a steep mountain. Obviously, it's normal to be winded, but we went as slow as it took for us to not be winded. If we felt that we were straining ourselves at all, we stopped, and then we walked slower. We stopped at every single mountain hut and just kind of hung out there to let our bodies have some time to rest and adjust. So I do recommend doing that, and that's why it's going to be really, really important to know your schedule, to know what time that bus in is, to know what time the last bus out is, and to make sure you're going to have enough time to slowly climb Mount Fuji and have time for breaks for your body to adjust. My last tip, and this would be for anyone, not just if you're hiking Mount Fuji in a day, but just so you are aware, and maybe you already are, the bathrooms along the trail all cost money. Most of them are 200 yen. You are going to want to have a lot of 100 yen coins with you so that you can use the bathroom as often as you might need to. So something else to do, prepare, just make sure you've got those 100 yen coins with you. We also brought our own snacks and things like that. Really nice thing that at those mountain huts going up to the top, well, and back down, honestly, there is food and drinks available. Your food and drinks get more expensive the closer you get to the top. So that's something to be aware of. But if you want to not be packing a lot, fortunately, there will be food and liquid available, even oxygen tanks if you need it. I'm not saying travel with nothing. That's not wise. We had camelbacks. We had water with us. We had protein bars. We had Pocari Sweat, my favorite exercise drink, sports drink in Japan. We had that with us, but there is other food available, other drinks available. Know that, but know you're going to want to bring some yen so you can have access to that. With that, I hope that you have a great climb. I seriously had the best day. Loved my climb of Mount Fuji. I recommend it to everyone, and even though it's unrecommended to do it in one day, if that's the way you need to do it, I highly recommend it.